Are you afraid of missing out? Have you ever done something because you were secretly afraid that if you didn't, you'd miss out on the opportunity? Maybe you bought something that you didn't think you needed right then, but because there were only a couple left, you thought that you'd better grab your chance. Or maybe you had that extra dessert because you didn't know when you'd get to that restaurant again. Or maybe you remembered something from the news that you read yesterday and you thought you'd just check on it before you got busy on your work today. You know what that's like. You end up buying something you never use, nearly make yourself sick chugging down the extra dessert that you really didn't want, or suddenly realize that 2 or 3 hours have passed since you had decided to read that one little item that was only going to take 5 minutes. Today was supposed to be different. No more wasted shopping, no more overeating, and certainly no more wasted time. What happened? You were the victim of that well known malady, the fear of missing out. In each case, you did something that you'd promised yourself you wouldn't do because deep down you were afraid that you'd regret it if you didn't give in just this once. I'm Dr. Bruce Hoag from psychhacks.com, and in this video you're going to learn why you're afraid that you'll miss out and how to prevent this fear from defeating you in the future. Whether it's buying something you don't need, eating something you really don't want, or allowing yourself to be distracted, all of these things can make you feel afraid. They can make you feel that if you don't take advantage of the opportunity that you'll miss out. You're secretly afraid that if you don't give in to the urge, the temptation, that it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. That's a lie. It's a lie that you tell yourself. It's also a habit. This isn't the first time this has happened. The habit formed for exactly the same reason. You felt that you'd miss out if you didn't give in to the temptation. And when you gave in, the inner tension was released, at least for a little while. And that made you feel good. And that's why you feel a loss when you fight against it. It's because you're afraid that you'll feel bad if you don't. You're afraid that if you don't get it, if you don't give in, then you'll lose something. But it's a perceived psychological loss, not an actual one. How does this happen? What draws you in at the beginning? What makes you think that giving in to something that seems so small is okay, that it won't matter? It comes from equating the triviality of the activity with what you have to give in exchange for it. Often, when you buy something, the expenditure is comparatively small. That's what makes it so easy to purchase. You don't notice that you've spent the money. Or that dessert. It's just a few cookies, special ones, you tell yourself, but only 2 or 3. Or maybe it's your favorite flavor of ice cream. Or perhaps it's a piece of pie. Compared to everything else, it's small, unnoticeable, and you tell yourself that you deserve it, which makes it even easier to consume. When it comes to your work, however, you allow yourself to be distracted because you equate the triviality of that activity with the time you think it will take you to engage in it. But the thing is that the time you spend is actually of far greater value than the activity, and so you're shortchanging yourself when you delay your work to do it instead. How do you decide if something is worth doing right now? You have to ask yourself what your goal is for that time, what your target is. If your goal is to read the news, then read the news. If it's to read email, then read email. If it's to play with a dog, then play with a dog. But if your goal is to work on your webinar or to write your sales letter or do any of the other myriad things that you had planned for that time, then don't use it to read the news, check your email, or play with a dog. In fact, don't use it for anything except what you planned to use it for. You see, no matter how trivial it may seem, when you do anything other than what you plan to do, then you're using your most valuable time to do something that matters less, that's less important. Why would you do something trivial when you should be working? It's because you're afraid that you'll miss out if you don't. What's the antidote? It's to plan your time in advance. And when should you do that? A good time to do your planning is just before you quit at the end of the previous day. Or you could make your plans for tomorrow as you work through things during the day. For example, if your goal is to research your emails for the week, but you don't finish during the time allotted, then on your note for tomorrow, you could simply jot down how many more you had to do. There are no rules for how to do this. The advantage to planning, however, is that when you get to your desk, you only have to look at your list to see what to do next. If you don't plan, or you haven't written down specific things that you will do, then you'll drift. You'll drift into your inbox, your favorite news or social media sites, or other places that are unrelated to your work. Think of it like this. All of the email that you've received will still be there when you finally do open your inbox. The comments that your friends have made in social media will still be there when you log in. Whether you look at what's been shared right now or in 12 hours will make no difference. Unless the person who posted it takes it down, those things will still be there. You don't have to leap onto those sites as soon as you turn your computer on for fear that they may all disappear. And what about the news? Rarely does much change from one day to the next. Not only that, but everyone seems to report what everyone else is saying. You'll find the same stories on TV that are in the newspapers or on the internet. And unless it impacts you personally, or you're in a position to do something about what you learned, none of it matters anyway. You're simply consuming it because it's interesting. Maybe you're one of those people who likes to remain informed. Think about it. Why is that so important? In truth, it doesn't matter. Not one bit. It's not as though you're a hermit. You'll pick up what's important just by being around other people, but you don't have to waste time learning it firsthand. Trust me, you're not missing out. You're not missing out on anything. In fact, the news is nothing more than entertainment for the most part, and poor quality entertainment at that. So stop watching it. Just stop. You'll find that the longer you avoid it, the less important it'll become. And then on the odd occasion when you do read or watch a story, it will seem even more trivial to you than it did before. What do you miss out on when you are distracted by trivia? You miss out on doing what you need to do in order to make progress in your business. You miss out on the satisfaction of knowing that you accomplished what you had decided to do. And you miss out on feeling good about yourself. What have you missed out on today? And what's so important that it can't wait until you finish your work? Decide what matters to you the most, and then take the steps that are necessary to get you there. And remember that the fear of missing out is a psychological lie that you've been telling yourself. Stop believing it. Instead, remind yourself that the only thing you're missing out on when you don't give in is the valuable time that you need to reach your goals. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and click the little bell so that you'll be notified the next time I post a new one.